with you. A proclamation from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus left the district of Tyre and went by way of Sidon to the Sea of Galilee, into the district of the Decapolis. And people brought to him a deaf man who had a speech impediment and begged him to lay his hand on him. He took him off by himself away from the crowd. He put his finger into the man's ears and spitting, touched his tongue. Then he looked up to heaven and groaned and said to him, Ephata, that is, be open. And immediately the man's ears were opened. His speech impediment was removed, and he spoke plainly. He ordered them not to tell anyone, but the more he ordered them not to, the more they proclaimed it. They were exceedingly astonished, and they said, He has done all things well. He makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. The good news of our salvation.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
My dear friends, we just celebrated the reality of love with all its splendor and complexities and even folly yesterday, right? Someone even dared to tell me, Father, are you aware that Valentine's Day is the most pro-life activity? What do you mean by that? He said, try to see, Father, in November, you will have a lot of baptisms. My dear friends, there is no other reason why Jesus performed healing miracles. It was his love for people. It was his love for the well-being for people that moved him to perform miracles. If we try to search the scriptures, particularly the Gospels, we would see in the accounts of these healing miracles that details vary. There were times when Jesus would emphasize forgiveness of sins. Your sins are forgiven, you are healed. There are times, my dear friends, when we have to remind ourselves also that our sinfulness can exacerbate the situation of our well-being. There are times when our spiritual malady affects our physical wholeness. But not always. There are times. And that's why in such instances, when the Lord emphasized forgiveness of sins, he was telling the recipients of his goodness and the onlookers that we need to realize that as much as possible, we have to avoid sinfulness. Because sinfulness afflicts us not only spiritually, but many times psycho-emotionally. In fact, one healer said, refusal to forgive is refusal to be healed. See, the sinfulness of anger, the sinfulness of the refusal to forgive sometimes prevents us from enjoying God's healing that will bring about wholeness once again into our lives. There were occasions also, my dear friends, when Jesus simply said, your faith has healed you. Emphasis on faith. It was the Lord's way of telling people, His original listeners, and we who are gathered now, it is His way of telling us that truly faith can move mountains. There are a lot of things that can be done well and far, far better if accompanied by a special motive we call faith in the Lord. Parents, if you don't believe in the Lord, if you don't believe in divine providence, if you don't believe that there is heaven after this lifetime, I don't think you would continue to sacrifice for your loved ones, to bear the troubles you are now experiencing for the sake of your loved ones. It would have been much, much easier for you to simply give up. But because of your faith, you are willing to do things differently. Healing comes to us if we truly have faith. And by healing, I don't only mean physical healing. Physical healing at times may not be granted, but psycho-emotional healing is equally important. I know a lot of sick people who are not yet healed of their physical infirmities, but when I talk to them, oh my goodness, they are at peace. Why? They have experienced a different kind of healing. I know, Father, the Lord will heal me one day after I undergo this medical procedure, but as of the moment, I know my sickness, my suffering has meaning, has purpose. I am offering this for something special. Lahi ara gyud. Kaniadto nagmugot. Pag sunod doon ako, lahi na. Healing has taken place. There were times also, my dear friends, when healing was attributed by the faith of the other individuals. Recall that instance when the sick man, the paralytic, was lowered from the roof of the house where Jesus was, right? Who had the faith? It was not the paralytic, but the people who really decided to bring the paralytic to the presence of Jesus. They were the ones who had faith. So makaingon ta intercessory prayer. The power of intercessory prayer. And that is why the moment someone asks you to pray for him or for her, please take that seriously. Do not just say yes to brush the person aside or to dismiss him or her off. The moment you say yes, immediately say a little prayer for him or for her before you forget. And believe me, when that person returns to you and tells you, salamat kay ha, sa imong pag-ampo nako, nakapasar jud ko. Deep in your heart, you would not be ashamed. Wala ra ba jud ko kaampo na? Wala jud ko, nakalimot ko. Oh, inana. Ampo igadayon, the power of intercessory prayer. In today's gospel narrative, a different detail is presented. Jesus made use of something which may be described as shamanic. Murag himuon sa mga quack doctor o mga shaman. No, sa mga masakit, nahilantan, ikalit lang, abtik, hilantan, oy, nabuyagan eh. Kinsay nagsighagwaan eh, simuni mo na, ala patutho eh. Jesus made use of his saliva to heal the man who was deaf, mute. What's the message? Perhaps it was the Lord's way of telling us, let's not look down on other forms of healing. Because for all you know, it's not the healer, but the faith of the person in the healing session that has brought about his or her well-being. Pero makaigsuunan, lain ang healing nga pamaagi sa Ginoo, pero usa mo'y common denominator. And what is that? Encounter with Him. They were healed because they encountered Jesus. My dear friends, this is my personal belief. There's no greater healing session than the Eucharist. Each time you receive communion, you receive the divine healer. His entire divinity and humanity you receive sacramentally. That's healing. Nindot na nga di na to ni makalimtan so that we will not fall into the trap made by shenanigans who conduct false healing sessions. Nga ang resulta, mailad na lang hinuunta. Unsay iti mailahan? Sa real healing, encounter with Jesus. Any healer who would promote himself or herself and Jesus would be eclipsed, no matter how effective, para nako in the end, that's not from God. Only a real encounter with Jesus can bring about healing. Ang healer gani, muangkon siya nga instrumento rako sa Ginoo. Unya i-lead ta niya to the Eucharist, to confession. For me, that's real healing session. We all need of healing, right? Physical healing, psycho-emotional healing, healing of our memories, healing of past hurts, healing of our relationships, our financial woes. We all need healing. And so, when we receive the Lord, all we have to do is say, Lord, I already said, after the priest invited us, let your word be more than enough to cure me. As I receive you, Lord, in this Eucharist, please heal me in your terms. Heal me in a manner which you think, Lord, would be best for me. Di na ko magbuot, Lord, unsang matanga sa healing, mo ihatag na ko. Basta each time I receive you, heal me. I believe you have already healed me. Amen.